Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. This is my review of Champion, a black and white boxing drama from 1949, directed by Mark Robson, the director of Von Ryan's Express, Valley of the Dolls. I believe he also directed Earthquake, the Charlton Heston disaster flick from the 70s. And this was produced by Stanley Kramer, who has directed many of his own classic movies, movies like the classic comedy It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, which was remade later on in the form of Rat Race in 2001. And I believe he also directed one of my favorite films, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I do have a review of that movie on this channel if you want to check it out. It's a great film. And this movie stars the great Kirk Douglas, the father of Michael Douglas, as everybody knows. He's in a lot of my favorite movies, movies like the 1960 epic Spartacus, and he's one of my favorite old school actors. I think he's one of the greatest, and he gives a great performance in this film as well. So right after the opening credits, we're introduced to Midge Kelly for the first time as he's about to enter the ring and start a new boxing match. And we overhear a commentator who's sitting ringside talking about how this is a man who came from nothing, came from poverty to become a champion. And as he's describing this, the movie starts to go into flashback mode, and we begin to see the beginning of the story of how he got there in the first place. When the flashback begins, we see Midge and his brother Connie, played by Arthur Kennedy, and these two guys are trying to catch a ride on a freight train from Chicago to California, and we see them being mugged by some homeless guys inside the freight car. And right away in this scene, we see Midge fighting these guys off and doing his best to protect his brother. And right away, we see this guy cares about his brother. We see that he does have kind of a spark, kind of a fire inside. He's got this willingness to fight if he has to. And he doesn't want them to get to his brother and beat his brother up, since his brother already has kind of a limp and has a cane. And so, in order to save his brother, he pushes him off the train. Midge is able to get in a couple of good punches before he jumps off the train and catches up with his brother. And then these two are pretty much stranded, so they pretty much got to just hitchhike. And a car comes along, lucky for them, and it's a man and a woman. They're offered a ride. They get in the back seat, and they're trying to go all the way to California, but this guy's only going to Kansas, so they accept, and off they go to Kansas. And once they arrive, it turns out that the driver of the car is a fighter, and he tells Midge and his brother, "Yeah, you guys can probably at this place that I'm gonna fight at, you guys can probably score a job, bussing tables or something." Since they really need the work, Midge decides to take the advice of this gentleman that gave them the lift, and he goes into this club to see about the job. And unfortunately, it doesn't go over too well, and he's turned down pretty much on the spot. And Midge, having the kind of temper that he does, ends up breaking some merchandise, some soda pop bottles. After Midge accidentally breaks all these bottles of soda pop, the owner of the club is ready to have Midge thrown in jail. And as somebody's escorting him out, Midge keeps giving the guy lip. And so the guy says, "Oh, you're a tough guy, huh? You want to make a few bucks?" And so he offers Midge the chance to pay him back for the stuff he broke by going a few rounds with one of the club fighters. And that is how he gets started, basically. So after this, Midge and his brother Connie end up getting a couple of jobs at this little diner. And the owner of the diner has a daughter that works for him as a waitress, and her name is Emma. She's played by Ruth Roman. And Connie gets a little bit of a crush on her, you can tell, but uh, Midge is a little more aggressive and pursues her a bit more. And the father warns them at the very beginning, "Stay away from her. She's my daughter. She's basically a kid, so just leave her alone." But of course, Midge being Midge, whenever the father's not around, he flirts with her quite a bit, and she even calls him fresh and stuff like that. We get a training montage, and Midge gets into pretty good shape. And there's a bit of, calisthenics, as they say, a bit of working out. He does some squat thrusts, he does leg workouts, does sit ups, all that stuff. So after the training montage, we get to see Midge in the ring again for a second time with another pro fighter. Only this time, Midge has had some actual training, and so the training combined with the aggression that he already has makes for a pretty good boxer. And there's a really nice moment where you see his brother watching from ringside, and you can tell he's a little bit worried about his brother, seeing how he's just very aggressive and very mean and nasty in the ring, and you can tell he's just worried that his brother might be going down kind of a dark path. Next, we get another montage where we see Midge have one fight after another in a series of fights where he's successful, and we get to watch his boxing career basically. And the fights in this movie are actually very well done. You might think that because it's an old movie and a black and white movie that it's going to look kind of funny. I wasn't sure how I would feel about the boxing scenes in this film the first time I saw it. But yeah, they hold up pretty good for 1949. And Kirk Douglas is very convincing in the ring as he is when he's not in the ring. He's just that good of an actor. Something else I got to talk about is the character of Midge Kelly, because even though he is the protagonist of the movie, at times he isn't very likable because just the nature of the character, he's sort of got kind of an ego on him because he knows he is good in the ring, and because he knows he's a good looking guy, he has a tendency to try and hook up with the wrong woman or backstab somebody that is like a friend, and that happens quite a bit in this movie. Around the midpoint of the movie, at the height of his boxing career, Midge ends up taking a fight, as it turns out, with the same man who gave him a lift at the beginning of the film, him and his brother. And he's played by actor John Dahim in the role of Johnny Dunn. And he fights Johnny Dunn a couple of times. He has a first fight, and then they have a rematch. Because of the way that these two characters meet at the beginning of the film, the boxing matches between Midge and Johnny Dunn's character almost feel like destiny when they do happen. And the woman that Johnny Dunn had in the car with him when he first meets Midge Kelly and his brother at the beginning of the movie, when he picks them up hitchhiking, she's with him throughout the movie, and then later on, she kind of switches over to Midge because he has that, you know, that Kirk Douglas charm, and so she's played by Marilyn Maxwell. Her performance as Grace, the character she plays in the film, is very good because, much like the character of Midge Kelly, there are times when you're not quite sure about her character. There are times when she seems like she might be on the up and up, and other times you feel she's probably just an evil gold digger. So there are layers to the people in this movie. It's not just sort of black and white, good and bad. There's a lot of shades of gray. Of course, I'm not going to spoil the outcome of that final fight because it's something that you should discover for yourself. But this is a movie that I highly recommend to anybody that enjoys not just a good drama, but a good sports film. And if you're into boxing movies, then this is something you should definitely seek out. This movie was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Cinematography, Best Music, which are all things that add to the experience of the film. And the editing in this film is outstanding, which is why it won the Academy Award that year for Best Editing. And this was written by Carl Foreman, who wrote the screenplay for High Noon. This movie is a 4-star classic, and highly recommend you all seek this movie. Check it out. Champion, starring Kirk Douglas. It is one of the greatest boxing films of all time, up there with Rocky, up there with Raging Bull, Body and Soul, which is another great boxing film. And yeah, find this one. Check it out. Watch it. It is out there. I believe it is on streaming services, but hard copies are out there. That is my copy of the Blu-ray. That is Kirk Douglas and Marilyn Maxwell there on the cover. 1949's Champion, a great black and white boxing movie. That is going to do it for this classic movie review. If you're new to the channel, please hit that bell and subscribe and check out more classic movie reviews. Check out the playlist. I got horror movies, comedies, dramas, action, adventure, stuff from every decade. I do want to apologize to everyone for not having uploaded anything in the past couple of weeks. Recently I had a back injury at work, so I'll be at home for a little bit, so I'll be able to get out more content right now while I'm at home doing a little resting. But yeah, I will try to get more old classic movie reviews out to you all, and just thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to share, comment, like, subscribe, of course, and thank you very much. I appreciate you all. Take care.